On a sunny afternoon, Alex decided to escape the hustle and bustle of the city and head to a nearby forest to relax. He walked along the path, surrounded by tall trees, with a gentle breeze brushing against his cheeks and only the whisper of the wind and leaves in his ears. Everything felt so peaceful, like he was cut off from the outside world. Little did he know, this forest held a secret that would make his heart race. As he reached a small creek, the sound of the flowing water caught his attention. He bent down, planning to scoop up some water to quench his thirst. Just then, his foot slipped, and the icy creek water swallowed him whole. Alex fell into the freezing water, instantly surrounded by the current. Panicking, he struggled to find something to keep him afloat. The cold water soaked through his clothes, as if invisible hands were pulling him down. The weeds and rocks around him became a blur, and he felt himself sinking fast. In his moment of despair, a stunning figure broke the surface, like a water nymph, swiftly swimming toward him. Her long hair floated in the water, creating gentle waves that radiated a soft glow. She reached out, her slender yet strong fingers gently grabbing Alex's wrist, pulling him up. Her movements were graceful and assured, like a dolphin gliding through the water, completely at ease. The cold water didn't seem to bother her at all. In fact, she appeared perfectly calm. "Don't be afraid, I'm here to save you." Her voice cut through the water, clear and warm, carrying a comforting strength. Her presence was like morning dew, instantly easing Alex's fear. With her pulling him up, he was drawn toward the surface, and the sunlight shimmering through the water added a dreamy quality to their encounter. Finally, Alex was pulled to the shore by the nymph. Soaked to the bone, he felt a mix of shock and gratitude. He looked up to see her smiling down at him, her mysterious eyes shining with warmth and concern. Her skin was as pale as pearls, and the sunlight fell on her like a golden halo. Every time she moved, there was an unmatched elegance and charm in her grace. Her slender waist was like a flexible willow branch, and her long legs were perfectly sculpted, exuding a mysterious allure that seemed to invite Alex's gaze with every step. "Are you okay?" Her voice was like morning dew, carrying an irresistible allure. Alex tried to steady himself as droplets rolled down his cheeks, his heart racing. He was deeply captivated by the nymph's beauty, his gaze drifting over her. I'm fine, just fell into the water by accident," he stammered, completely taken in by her charm. The nymph smiled slightly, seemingly intrigued by his awkwardness. She slowly rose, walking gracefully toward Alex, her skirt creating ripples on the water's surface. Her presence was like the scent of flowers in the forest, enchanting and filled with an irresistible magic. As Alex looked at her again, a strong desire suddenly surged within him. The nymph's dress hugged her graceful figure, and the sunlight spilled over her flawless skin, shimmering with an enchanting glow. Her waist was slender, and her movements light, each step carrying a heart-racing allure. Sunlight danced across every curve of her body, highlighting her incredible beauty. Her long legs resembled finely crafted sculptures, exuding an irresistible charm. Alex's breathing grew quick and his heart raced, his gaze fixed on every detail of her. Her beauty seemed to transcend reality, completely immersing him and making him forget the world around them. He felt an intense desire to get closer, to feel the warmth of her skin and touch that intoxicating softness. The forest is a magical place. Her voice was soft, like music carried by the wind, with a hint of teasing. "You never know what you might encounter." She moved closer to him, and the air was filled with an indescribable attraction. Her slender fingers lightly brushed against his arm, leaving a tingling sensation that seemed to ignite a deep desire within him. "I can help you get dry," she said, her smile like the warm sunlight of spring, full of allure, with a teasing sparkle in her eyes. Alex nodded almost without thinking, feeling the soft touch of her fingertips and a wave of warmth rising within him. Her hand glided over his shoulder, slow yet filled with a mysterious magic, as if she were silently teasing him. "Come, follow me." I'll take you to a safer place." Her voice was soft and filled with irresistible allure, as if inviting him into a dream. Alex found himself following her without hesitation, moving through the trees, his heart filled with anticipation and desire for the unknown. They arrived at a sunlit clearing, surrounded by blooming wildflowers. The air was thick with the rich scent of flowers, as if the entire world were celebrating their encounter. She turned to him, her eyes sparkling with a playful and inviting light. "Do you like it here?" "Yes, it's beautiful," Alex replied, feeling a warmth rising in his chest. He knew it was more than just an appreciation of the surroundings. "Did you know that every flower and every leaf in the forest holds endless stories?" She smiled slightly and stepped closer, her breath as gentle as the wind but filled with an irresistible force, as if pulling him into her world. "If you'd like, I can share some of those stories with you." Her voice was deep and soft, as if guiding him into a deeper, more alluring place. Alex's heart raced, and countless beautiful fantasies filled his mind. He couldn't resist her invitation. When she reached out her hand again, he knew he was completely under her spell. Alex's heart thundered in his ears, and every movement and word from the nymph sent waves of emotion through him. She leaned in closer, her breath brushing against his cheek, filled with an irresistible, sweet fragrance. "There are many wonderful things in the forest." Her voice was soft, almost a whisper in his ear, carrying a clearly teasing intent. "But you are the most special treasure I've found today." Her fingers lightly brushed over Alex's arm, like electricity coursing through his skin, intensifying his desire. Her smile was playful, but there was an undeniable hunger behind it. Alex felt as if he were in a dream, everything around him both unreal and filled with a captivating allure. She gently took his hand, leading him forward slowly, each step seeming to draw him into a more mysterious place. Sunlight bathed her, highlighting her graceful figure. The white dress she wore was the only barrier covering her beauty, making Alex unable to resist imagining the warmth and allure of her soft skin in the sunlight. "Did you know?" Her voice dropped to a softer tone, laced with a clearer hint of teasing. "I've been waiting here for a long time, hoping someone like you would show up." Her eyes locked onto Alex's, her intense gaze revealing an undeniable desire. Her lips parted slightly, and her tongue brushed gently against the edge of her mouth, as if tempting him to come closer and taste her sweetness. Her soft body moved nearer, until they were almost touching, the air filled with the sound of their breathing. "I crave you." Her voice turned into a soft sigh, and in that moment, Alex's rationality completely crumbled. He could feel the heat radiating from her body, sensing her desire for him like a burning flame. The nymph's hand slowly glided up his chest, her fingertips lightly tracing his muscles, sending shivers through him. Every movement was filled with teasing and seduction, as if each touch ignited the most primal desires deep within Alex. "Don't you want to get closer to me?" she asked softly, her voice husky and filled with desire. Alex's throat tightened, and he couldn't find the words to respond. He could only nod silently. His gaze was glued to her chest, the full, balanced curve seeming to call to him with each breath she took. "Then come closer," her voice rang out again, this time deeper, almost a whisper. Her hands gently wrapped around Alex's neck, her body nearly pressing against his. He could feel her chest against his, the warmth and softness making him almost lose all rational thought. Her breath was warm against his ear, filled with irresistible teasing. "I need you." Her voice was barely audible, but the desire was unmistakable, as if she were conveying a message with her very being. She couldn't wait for him, longing for the uncontrollable passion between them. Alex's hands instinctively found their way to her waist, feeling the warmth and softness of her skin. Her body trembled subtly in his embrace, as if responding sensitively to each of his touches. "Now, you're no longer just my fantasy." Her gaze was intense, her voice filled with anticipation and desire. Her lips gently moved closer until they finally met his, igniting a long-suppressed desire deep within Alex. He kissed her deeply, wrapping his arms tightly around her, their bodies pressed together in the sunlight as if there were no barriers between them. Alex's breathing grew more rapid as he stood frozen, his gaze locked onto the nymph before him. Her beauty had him on the brink of losing control. Yet, every movement she made was filled with even more temptation, like an endless challenge. The nymph stood before him, turning gracefully away, her long hair silky and flowing over her shoulders, giving off a subtle fragrance. Alex's gaze was drawn to her slender back, the flawless white skin glistening in the sunlight, as if every inch of her was glowing. Her hands slowly brushed against her shoulder strap, the movement incredibly gentle, as if she were performing a carefully crafted act. Her body swayed slightly, exuding an irresistible sensuality, and every breath in the air seemed to carry an irresistible allure. Alex's hands clenched into fists, feeling every cell in his body burning with desire, yet he still tried to stay calm. Even though his heart was already ignited by longing, he knew he had to keep his wits about him. Everything before him felt like a dream, and he didn't want to lose himself so easily. The nymph's fingers gently slid down her shoulder strap, the silky fabric falling away to reveal her snow-white shoulder. Her back was smooth as jade, with graceful, captivating lines, and the sunlight danced on her skin, giving her a soft golden glow. Alex's gaze followed her every movement, his heart racing with each passing moment.